Okay, welcome back everyone. So my name is Dylan Collins. I'm a 2014 scholar from British Columbia, reading for a DPhil in primary healthcare. This is my colleague Stefan Colley from Frog Design in Milan. And Stefania is a good friend of mine, and we have been working together using human-centered design in healthcare for about the last year, doing things like teaching doctors how to sketch for decision-making and clinical practice, redesigning consultation journey maps for solving problems in clinical care. And we have the pleasure of having Stefania with us to do an ideation session here in Rhodes House as our next event. But first, I want to remind everyone of why we're here and the theme of what we're doing. So the theme that we came up with this year, which John spoke about earlier and you've been discussing, is this idea of making meaningful gains in healthcare and the importance of maintenance and optimization, and whether or not our focus on innovation or our funding of innovation is a distraction, or what is the opportunity cost? What are we losing sight of to make meaningful gains? And of course, we've set up a bit of a false dichotomy there. So we could be thinking about what are the innovations we need to be having or need to be funding to optimize care. But what we want to do now is take a look at these questions from the lens of an individual human. Okay, so that's the idea of human-centered design. So we'll be breaking into groups and giving you personas so you can think about these questions, come up with ideas, try and solve some problems, but most importantly, continue these conversations that we've just been having in the context of a human's life. So maybe I'll give you a little overview of our agenda. We're going to take 15 minutes now to talk a little bit about human-centered design and what it is. And then we're going to do some training with you, so you have a few tools going into your small group workshops. We're going to give you the basics of sketching, and that's a perfect point to introduce our cartoonist, Chris. So Chris is diligently drawing out our ideas and the talks on this board here. He's a graphic facilitator and artist, and I'd encourage you to go and speak with Chris, ask him about the artistry, and contribute by having conversations. So we're going to learn a little bit about what he is doing by ourselves learning the basics of sketching. This is important when we go into the workshops, which we're doing next, so that we can rapidly communicate our ideas with each other. So I'll hand this over to Stefania, and we'll walk through the rest of the process.
So hi everybody, I'm Stefan Colley. I'm not a Rhodes scholar, I'm not a doctor, I'm just a designer. So I'll just tell you something about me. I work for Frog Design is a design and strategy firm, and I love to work with people, try to help, and also with doctors, help them and having a better life, and working a lot in chronic disease. And I was lucky to work both in Western countries and also in poor countries, like last summer in Bangladesh. And Frog is an organization that is composed of designers, researchers, strategists, and technologists. We are 500 with different studios all over the world. But really, and what we do is we try to make products to help clients and bring things, do stuff, and bring them on the market. That's our side. So probably we are more on the industry side, but I agree with what John said this morning, that it's really about having a positive feedback loop between the healthcare system and the industry part, and more we work together with healthcare systems. So what we do in looking at these lenses and landscapes of human and the single individual versus the population, the type of project we do in healthcare, I'm specialized in product for the healthcare space, are consumer experiences, so designing product for empowering individual and communities, and especially in the last 2-3 years, we really work a lot together with communities. Professional experiences, more trying to help physicians in having better tools for their daily work, so a lot of work in, for example, medical imaging, or also more and more moving towards service design and then designing service experiences for having better care pathway. So what is human-centered design? I had people ask me, so what you do, what kind of design? Is it fashion design or whatever? No, it's simply, it's a methodology about orienting innovation towards an individual and its own reality. Essentially, it's about designing things starting from the lens of the human and putting the needs, the wants, and the limitation of the human at the center. And this is like a process that is never ending. It's a kind of continuous feedback loop. So you, usually at the beginning, you immerse yourself in the problem, and then you do research, design research, so interview people in a qualitative way. You synthesize, and we'll review some of the tools we use to synthesize, and then you have ideation session. And we'll try to simulate today, in the small time we have, a kind of ideation session. And then you build up, try to build up a solution, a small solution, a practical solution, and then you bring it to market. And you measure the results, and you learn from the results, and you build the next release. So I really liked also what Esther Dyson had with this idea of having not only testing, but also learning on the field. A tool that we are going to use are personas. Personas are fictional characters, kind of archetypes, that represent different type of population, not only so much in terms of age, but more in terms of behaviors. That's an important consideration. And what is important to generate ideas is to build empathy around the person, to put yourself in the feet of that particular person. A tool that is useful when you have ideas is to be able to visualize ideas. It's a tool to see what there is in your brain, but also to communicate ideas to others. That's a picture a friend took last summer when I was in Bangladesh, and I was sketching frameworks, and there was this little bird that was a little bit surprised to see a woman with short hair in Bangladesh sketching on a window. So it's like, what the hell? If you have also questions or comments, feel free to raise your hand and interrupt. We just try to go fast because we want to jump to do things. About visual thinking, what is? Is about essentially kind of a sketching as a way to visualize the idea you have. It's more important the act of doing of your drawing. The most important thing is your thinking. So it's not about the quality of your drawing, it's about your thinking behind the drawing. There is an interesting study done by George Sternberg about the picture superiority effect. So they did a study, and they showed to a group of people different meanings, different things. Some of them with pictures, like a dog on the right. Some others had words. And after 72 hours, 65% of the people that saw the picture remember it, and only 10% that saw the words remember it. When sketching, when drawing, for me it's that's always a good occasion to sketch. And if you are not used to sketch, it's really, I would suggest to start small from here, like you can do right now, and you'll do right now, for yourself as a way to think. The more you practice, the more it's a tool also if you are a student to engage others, to discuss ideas on a board, considering that when you are with others, you expose yourself. So be compassionate for yourself and just at the beginning sketch more for yourself. The more you get better, the more you become kind of a moderator for conversation, if you're able to sketch and visualize ideas. Or you can go to the extreme, like, for example, Chris, that you can become a graphic facilitator. I don't know if you want to, but I think it's a very helpful tool to moderate a discussion, to present a shared vision for a concept, or even for a strategy. Today we start from the basics. It's like learning a new language. First you learn the basics, so alphabet and words, and then the grammar, that is composition and visual frameworks. So are you ready? Do you have the worksheet? Yes? So the first exercise is with the white paper, the pen, and actually just do some squares. And they don't have to be exactly the same as these. whatever you want, some few squares. You have like 30 seconds to do few squares. You don't have to copy from the person near you. Actually, usually we do this with a table, but because we are here and you are super smart people, we want to make it even more difficult. So. And I say something while you're sketching. One important thing that I didn't say is I would recommend to use pen and not pencils, because it's not important to fail to do something that you don't like. It's not that the reason why. If you have a pencil, you think, oh no, I can redo it again, and it's not enough perfect and things like that. It's not important that. Okay, I see you have done. So take your work and give it to the person on your right. So sharing is important. And Esther is without, wait, Dylan, do you have one more? Esther doesn't have it. Do you have it? So there is one for Esther. You have it? Okay, cool. So now that you have the new one, do transversal lines in two boxes. And you start to see that by doing transversal line, you create layers. Some boxes are coming nearest you, some others goes on the back. Okay. How is this exercise? Strange? Fun? You didn't expect, I know this. Yeah, I do this also at MBA with clients to engage people and also to create a personal relation with people and to have fun in what you're doing also. I think that's important. Okay, now let's move on. Next step is drawing with the 5 basic elements. So you have 5 basic things: a square, a circle, a line, a triangle, and a dot. Easy. Anyone can do it. It's not about drawing, just drawing these things. And with them, you move to the next worksheet, and you can start sketching 2 or 3 of these objects that you have. If you are already good at drawing, you are free to draw them in the way you like. I mean, don't feel constrained by these shapes, but it's a way to make things easier. And actually what I've noticed with clients is that some of them start creating their own visual library for meetings, for things they do quite often. And so when they have meetings with others, they have their own library of elements that they go back. Okay, I see you've already done a lot. Usually what I enjoy to do is then collect all the worksheets, scan them, and share in the group, because then it's really fun to see how each of us is different and how each of us view the world in a different way. Okay, let's move on. You can keep it, and tomorrow during the sessions you can keep sketching. I'm joking. Keep it for you and keep going. Now let's move to another thing. So we are trying to keep the person at the center. So learning how to sketch human, it's really important. And actually, as a designer, you really want to help people in imagining a different way, having a different view of themselves. So you try to design new experiences for people. You don't design products. You try to design the impact on people's life. Then actually, it's not you that design, it's people that design their life, obviously. But I think keeping the person at the center is really important. So if you look at these two images. This is taken from a beautiful book called Understanding Comics by Scott McCloud that I would recommend. So you see on the right a more detailed face, actually on my left a more kind of a comic. And what do you see here? It's not a psychological test, don't worry, I'm not a doctor, so what do you see? These things, what are? What? Lobes. Lobes, okay. You? What do you see? Okay. Okay, now let's move to the next one. What do you see now? Ghosts. I can't hear people from the far. And here, what do you see? An eye. But it's actually just a circle. It's not an eye. Well, actually, the point is that we see ourselves in the environment. We really search for humans around us. So we naturally, it's part of our nature to search for other people that are similar to us. And actually, an interesting thing is when I talk with another person and let's say there is this guy that is talking with me, the woman has a very detailed image in her brain about the guy. And the guy has a very detailed image of the woman in his brain. Well, actually, the guy has a very abstract visualization in his mind of himself, because luckily he doesn't spend the whole day in front of the mirror, and the same the woman. So when you see this, when you see an image that is more detailed and real, you see others. A face of another person. Where you see something more abstract, a cartoon, you see yourself. That's the power of cartoon, and images that are more simple and abstract, you tend to empathize more. So when you sketch and experience a story, try to be simple as much as possible, because it's a way to communicate the idea, to let the audience care for what you are talking about. So now go to the next exercise, and you can start sketching some faces just by combining different type of lines for the mouth and different type of lines for the eyebrows, and a circle. You come out with different expression of the face. And then you can start doing sketches of your colleagues, your teachers. That's actually what I used to do when I was at school, but it was not so appreciated by my teachers. I guess also Chris is the same. Chris doesn't hear me. And actually, another experiment we are doing in my company, we are doing some little diaries that we are distributing to GP. And in this diary, there is a short extract of this presentation about visual thinking, and then we are asking them to describe 3 archetypes of the patient they have. And it's really interesting and engaging to see the human side of doctors, because for me as a person, as a patient, I'm not used to consider doctors as human. You consider more the role, and then you read the story, this diary, and it's really interesting how much just drawing bring up the human side of people, while maybe you are in a role and you can express so much yourself. How is this exercise? Difficult, easy? Fine? Okay. Oh, we are almost done everything. This is fun because there is some people that start to do all the circle and then like combine. Well, it's really interesting to see how people do the same exercise. And then you have sketching bodies. Sketching bodies, there are different ways to sketch bodies, and it's really not about sketching bodies, it's about the meaning of that. So you can sketch more as sticky figures to express more a feeling, or maybe with a block, maybe it's more to express more a movement, or like star, Little stars, that is more to express frameworks, groups, so it's more like when you go to a conceptual level. So you can, if you want, you can try to sketch 2 or 3 of the verbs that you see in the worksheet. And this will be particularly useful later on when we're going to ideate, and we'll try to sketch experiences and stories, because at the end, new ideas is really about stories of how we would love to help people. I have to take a picture of you doing this exercise. No, I rely on the... Okay, no, I want a picture then later of them. How is this exercise? Good? Oh, you're awesome. Okay, now we move to another thing that I think will be helpful for you in your daily life and daily work. One recommendation that I always do to clients, and it's a different point here, but when you have to do a presentation, don't start from PowerPoint or Keynote. Start from the story you want to build. So I love to do a storyboard of the story with all the slides and sketch that. And visual framework can help in that. So if you, and then we'll see more. So start from your brain, your ideas, a piece of paper, and then when it's clear that, move to the tool, otherwise to the computer, otherwise the tool is a constraint for your ideas. Visual frameworks are more abstract representations of essentially relationships. It's important to keep them simple and human, if it's possible, have a face, because it makes it build empathy with the audience. If you start with one model, stay with that, please. So I've seen so many consultants having in every slide a different model, and then you get crazy. So try to be simple in that. Everything has a geography, a relationship, so according to where you put things on paper, you are creating relation. And look beyond the obvious hierarchy. So if you want to represent a group of people, if you create a hierarchy, like on the left, you give an idea. If you express that the same concept, like on the right, actually you express a different ideas of relationship. So there are 2 ways to consider space, the space on paper or whatever, and relationship. Space as time. So like when you're doing timeline, when you are sketching processes that can be linear or loops, or life cycles. And that's one model. The other way is the geography. So relationship like abstract ideas, space map, charts, concept map, or whatever. So when you want to express an idea or a concept, think about what you want to tell. If you're thinking to express more the sequencing and want to focus more on what is after what and the sequence, it's more about the time, the first one. If it is about more relationship, is more geography. That's this is the basics. How we use these tools in our daily work. A model is the circle of trust that you'll have also later on. That is a visualization of who is the people around the person. So we always speak about the community and then the healthcare system, but in reality, who they are. So when we do design research, we bring this worksheet, and you have the person at the center. Actually, it's a little bit extreme because for now, it's what we have seen that works. So you have on one side the social and on the other side the medical. That is not nice to say, but it helps us for now in framing the conversation. So you could have the loved ones, the community, the health worker, the physician, and the payer. So what we do with people is we ask them who they are, who are the people around them. So this is the project I did last summer in Bangladesh. So we had, you can see the community around this woman. It was a little bit invasive, I have to say. And we did this exercise, for example, with her in a very practical way. So that's actually the worksheet. That's actually the worksheet of another guy, where you have the bi community, the hospital, the family, the mom doesn't have anymore the father, and so on. So you really map out real people. It's not theory, it's real people. And then when you build up personas, essentially you abstract a bit this different circle of trust, and you have different models, because you design at the end relationship. You want to provide tools to actually, not you design a relationship, you want to support with tools a relationship that are already there. You just want to be an enabler for people that are already probably caring for each other. The other model is the value exchange, that is similar to the previous one, a little bit evolved. So you want to try, this is really important for clients, you want to try to map the values that are not based on money, but other type of values, and understand what are the shared value in a system that you want to create. So for example, if you're thinking about a person that has diabetes, and I'm really throwing out ideas, maybe with the family there is a feedback loop of love and care, and what I've noticing that sometimes you can't distinguish the patient and the caregiver. They are really an experience. This is a feedback loop, especially in situations like Alzheimer, where I did a project. It was almost impossible in a couple to see who had the Alzheimer and who was the caregiver, because they were caring for each other. And actually, this is important, and sometimes clients underestimate this, because you are creating a drug for the patient, but actually you are supporting the circle of care around you should also think about that. Then we have, for example, the more extended diabetes community that could even have relationship with the family. On the other side, you could have a relation with the physician, and I hope there is a relation of trust between the person and the physician, and maybe there should be reassurance, or there is just medication or instruction. So that's a way, an interesting way to map out what is the present and where you would like to move on from this model. Now we move on. Any question, comment? I'm going pretty fast, and in any case, we'll provide the material if you are interested. Now we move on to the activities that we'll do today, and as Dylan already said, it's really about going on with the conversation you already had. So I would not pretend to have crazy and fantastic ideas in 1 hour, and it's actually not the way it works in reality, just to be clear, but it's a way to explain in a practical way the tools that we use in our everyday life. You are going to have 30 minutes to generate ideas. So you'll have 5 minutes to review the personas. Each group will have a different persona. Everything is set up, and you get the material. And then you can keep the persona for you. And then you have 15 minutes to generate ideas. You have like 1 or 2 worksheets per each person, highlighting the name of the idea, who is it for, in the sense that you can have an idea for a person, for, let's say, you can have an idea for Taju, the kid. So I have the idea for the kid, but I'm making the idea for his mom. So the point is also that you can address the care and have an idea, thinking at the benefit for one particular patient, but designing something for someone else. Or I could think about an idea that works in parallel for the doctor and for the mom and so on. Then you have a short description, what makes it valuable, and then you can sketch quickly the idea. Then you're going to have 10 minutes to cluster ideas, so finding patterns, ideas that are similar, and you have 1 dot. Each person has 1 dot to vote. Try not to vote your idea, just to make it a little bit more fun. And this is another suggestion. When we do a lot with clients, when you have like 60 ideas of plenty of opportunities, And there are situations where you can't take a rational decision. You don't have time. You have to go with gut feeling. This is a very democratic way to move from 60 ideas to 20. And then you have 25 minutes for refinement and preparing the share out. So for each idea, so you can pick 1 or 2 ideas depending from the clustering. This is an activity that you can do the whole group. So you are going to highlight what is the unique value for the person. We call this onlyness. It's a kind of simple value proposition. So it's the only, and then you describe the product category for, and you write down the personas, that, and you explain what is the core purpose, the benefit, the job to be done, just to talk about Christensen, buy, and what are the main features. Very simple. And then you have the value exchange that I already explained, technology enabler. Can be technology enabler, can be things about regulatory that are going to happen. And actually, I forgot to say that if you don't have ideas, the moderator is going to have also the headline from the future, just to have even more elements. And then you're going to sketch the experiences. So a lot of things to do. I think I've said, and then you're going to have the share out. We are going to have 2 share outs, one with me in the ground floor, and one with Dylan in the first floor. And each group is going to have 3 minutes to share the idea and 2 minutes for questions. So very short. I think that's all. Any question for? And in any case, I'm around here, so feel free to stop me and ask me more. Give it back to Dylan.
Okay, so there's obviously a lot to happen in the next hour. Thank you, Stefania, for walking us through the worksheets and introducing us to visual thinking. So to recap what's happening now, we're all breaking into carefully curated groups. So please go to them and to the right one. And it's the middle symbol on your badge. The symbol and room allocations are the same as our breakout earlier this morning. In each group, there is a facilitator who will hand out all of the worksheets and help keep time. After 1 hour, 5 groups will be coming together and will see me upstairs, and another 5 groups will come together and see Stefania. And each group is sharing back the final ideas they came up with. Then we'll be posting them in the back of the room here, and we'll have a drinks reception. You will all get stickers, and you can have drinks, talk about the ideas, and put a sticker on your favorite one. Okay? So if you could move as quickly as possible to your room, we can get started. Thank you.